This is the business exit secret formula. And today we've got Russell. Russell is an expert in the field of marketing, copywriting, and a speciality in the world of consultants. So we all know you need to niche into a certain spot. Over the years, he's obviously done a whole lot of different businesses. We'll get Russell to explain a little bit about how he started and how he landed up on this part of the journey. If you could just start from the beginning, like if it was 30 years ago, what did you do then and how did you lead your way up to what you do today?
Yeah, absolutely. It's weird over the journey. I think we counted them last year as 276 different industries that we've worked in. But it started very much in the actual design space. I was my father wanted me to be an art restorator because I was good in art and design. That's where I went to TAFE and university. It was interesting that I got in probably from the graphic design into advertising side of things was my main entry into the marketing world. The business that I started working with was called Bull Graphics at the time, and we used to do a lot of pharmaceutical work. So in the 90s, we had all that pharmaceutical dollars, and we used to do a lot of brand marketing around them. Now, I stayed with that company for 9 years, and when we developed everything from websites to digital video work, and we were doing this for all these companies. Eventually, I went out on my own and started Crimson Fox, which was initially sort of a brand marketing agency that then became sort of a brand marketing consultancy. And it ran for 10 years and was running quite effectively as a service. We'd won a bunch of awards. We had a small, though, complex team. I think we had 12 people at the height of things. One of the realizations for me is that I probably was not the best manager. Obviously, I got better over time, but certainly at the start, I wasn't great. And the process for me was discovering that really the love that I had for business was actually from the design side, enabling me to see first aesthetically how to design work, but then how does that fit into a broader campaign? How does the campaign fit into a broader business purpose? How does that help to grow a business? And my sort of design understanding and passion grew like in width. By the time I'd been running my business for 10 years, I realized that I really loved the consulting side, and more than half the business, the turnover of the business was me in consulting, and the other was these other 11 people. So I realized that there was an imbalance there. And I after a couple of years of really considering that, I had a colleague and I had a talk. He was able to actually take that part of the business. So I didn't technically sell the business. I sold the portfolio of the business, all the services side of the business. I held on to the consulting side. So that really started a whole nother journey into consulting, becoming a consultant for all sorts of businesses and almost a pseudo marketing director for many, which then led me to really not only understand the consulting world, but love it. And find that it's not this complex space that people make it out to be, where no one knows what a consultant does. They're there to enable the client to achieve the result at the end of the day. I started to share what I knew about my speciality, which was the business growth side of things. So especially through sales and marketing, I started to share that with other consultants, and then the consultants became my clients. So I became the consultant to consultants. So now I have a number of programs and services that I offer to consultants to help them grow their businesses. And that's everything from the Forge Business Program, which is really for those people who want to put their foot down and accelerate the growth. And then for those people that are looking for education or community or finding a different angle to look at their business through, the Consulting Guild is what I offer to those people. And from time to time, I do some one-on-one work. But it's a great business. I love it. It's very profitable. It's fun. I take Wednesdays off. I don't know why I decided Wednesdays. I think it was thumbing my nose at the business week. We work 4 days a week, and it's a bit of a joy.
That's the main thing, isn't it? But when you talk about 276
Yeah.
industries, it sometimes takes quite a few years to find where your particular passion and your heart goes, isn't it?
It does. It does. And, uh, it's almost hard to like know what those 276 would be, but that's why we wrote them down. They're all on a web page somewhere. We wrote them all
Okay.
down. And, I find, in the old days, I would speak to people and go, oh, look, you don't have to niche. You don't have to do that. Just do what you're doing and the business will come. But the more and more I work, especially with consultants, almost every business, I say, like, if you can niche, if you can actually make the decision to niche, it is so much faster, so much more effective. And then it's so much easier for people to not only work with you because you're highly relevant, but then also to create a business that produces results consistently because you got similar problems that you're solving.
It's going to be a lot easier, isn't it? It's like the concept of having a gym, for example, and then you decide, well, next week I'm going to buy another one and then another one.
Yep.
So then I flog the best person from the first gym to go to the second, and they all run very badly, don't they? Because now you're really thin across the line. You're probably losing money. So you could virtually say that would be a good way of putting it together, is where you're working on the one and then just go deeper. If you want to, you could broaden a little bit, but if you go deep first, like a well,
Yeah, I
isn't it?
agree. Yeah, you definitely go deep because the big thing for the entrepreneurial types is like, oh, I'd get bored. On one hand, you've got the people who are probably a little less entrepreneurial, and they say, well, there wouldn't be enough for me. There's a scarcity sort of mindset to it. But the reality is, even if you just want to deal with left-handed locksmiths, you're going to find thousands of them. And the other is that, I might get bored. So you're not the thing that's going to ensure that you don't stay bored is humans. Humans, just by their very nature, are fantastic at providing new and wonderful problems to solve. And while you might have like 10 of the same businesses in the same industry, the directors of those businesses are completely different. So the way they handle problems, the strengths, the weaknesses, the way they operate are actually completely different. And while you can solve one problem the same way for many, it's how to engage them to take that advice, how to engage them to actually take steps that maybe they're not used to taking.
Yeah, totally. I suppose, like in my industry, being in the background of construction and property, and that's what we specialize in.
Mm.
When you start stepping a little bit outside of that, which I've learned not to now, as I refer it on to someone else,
Yeah.
it's a lot of hard work, isn't it? Well,
Well,
if
and
you
that
know
was the
and
problem,
you
yeah.
stick in your lane, you when you talk about the 4-day, you're not going to have a 4-day week, are you? Because a lot of that stuff is it's repetition to a certain degree, because you've worked the model, you repeat the model to the next, to the next, to the next. You might fine tune it, improve it a little bit, 1%ers or that type of situation. But at the end of the day, you're an expert. It's like if you go to a brain surgeon, you're not going to go to a doctor to have a brain operation. You want to go to the best, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. The problem I had when I was running my service business, when I was running that agency, was really the 276 different industries we were working with. So like every single time we did a new project, it was like trying to reinvent the wheel. You don't have as profitable a business. You're always trying to work things out for the first time. Yes, it's exciting, but like while it seems like it would be good to have an exciting business, it's far, puts far less money in your family's bank account.
Oh, totally. Absolutely. So, on that, so talking about specializing in that realm of consultants, can you explain a little bit more how you take them on that journey? So, for example, say I'm an engineer. We can
Yep.
call that a consultant, right? I turn up, I'm very good at cracking numbers, but I struggle reaching out to people. I'm a little nerdy in that concept. How can you help them in that realm? Some sort of pointers for them to broaden their network?
Absolutely. Consulting engineers, we work with plenty of them. Excuse me. Very smart people, know their stuff. And the opportunity for them is to become more relatable in their communication. So one of the things that we focus on in creating that relatability is symptoms versus problems. Often, when you're an expert in what you do, you can listen to a client and you'll hear what's happening underneath the surface. You'll hear the actual cause of the issue. You'll hear the real problem rather than the referred problem. So a lot of engineers, in fact, a lot of consultants in general, will just try to attack that cause and go, right, well, I can help you fix that issue. But the client doesn't recognize that issue yet, right? They're only aware of the symptomatic pain that they're experiencing. So instead of talking to the cause that's underlying, you can actually just talk to the symptom and people will feel understood. So to give you the analogy, let's say that you go to the doctor and the doctor's very, very smart. You go in and I've got a pain in my leg, and they go, no, you don't. It'll be referred pain from something else. I think we need to do some x-rays and a whole series of tests and put you through the ringer before we actually decide what is the problem. Like, speaking to that doctor, number one, you're going to feel unheard.
Yeah.
Number two, it feels like a very difficult process that you're about to go through. So you're going to be hesitant to go through it. Instead, if you went to that doctor and said, doctor, I've got a pain in my leg, the doctor said, well, I imagine you want to get rid of that pain. Is that right? You said, yes, you're in, right? You've felt heard, you felt understood, and now you're ready to do the diagnostic process with that doctor. So it's just good bedside manner to speak to a client how they present with the symptom that they talk about. Ask them if they would like the opposite instead. Once they say yes, then you can move into the diagnostic process, because if you're doing treatment without diagnostic, it's malpractice. So we want to really use that medical analogy. And there's a lot of engineers who do probably know the answer, but it would be more effective for them to double check by going through a diagnostic process. Also, the process of diagnostic is not a waste of time. It's actually one of the most engaging things for the client. That's really the big one, not just for engineers, but almost all consultants I work with, because the majority of people I work with have masters or deep experience in engineering. I've got aerospace people. I've got doctors. They're all brilliant at what they do. It's just helping them connect with humans and make a connection in that space where the human feels heard, understood, and then ready to take a step.
So most people turn up, or just use the doctor analogy. We just really go there for an outcome, don't we? Yeah. So, for example, we got pain in our leg. We want the pain to be removed. Obviously, there's a whole lot of other things you could do by losing weight and whatever, but we go to the doctor because we want the pain removed.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the first part. So we really want to address the first part, or do we tell them to go on an exercise program and forget about the outcome?
Well, it's interesting. I was literally speaking to a GP who came to talk to me about her consulting practice, because she's going to take the GP work that she does to the corporate space. She was like, I don't know how to do all this sales, marketing stuff. It's all complex. I'm like, but you're a doctor. Do the doctor stuff.
Yeah.
So I said to them, let's say someone comes in and they're in a lot of pain. They can't even see the forest for the trees. They can't see the issue that's in front of them, which means that you can't treat the issue until they're ready to take that step. What would you do? He said, I would treat the pain. Treat the pain with a pill, treat the pain with some medicine, treat the pain with something that's going to reduce the pain to enable you to do the deeper work. So that analogy flows through the entire consulting process, which sometimes you need to give them something to relieve the symptom to enable you to do the deeper work. Because sometimes they're not ready to take the bigger step.
I think that's a good part. It's the readiness first. If all you're thinking about is the pain, of course you're not ready, are you?
Not at all.
You want that removed,
business, and they're stuck in a place where they can't even think about where their next client's going to come from.
Exactly, and they're trying to pay the bills, that type of situation. Let alone let's go and polish up this, create yourself a studio like us, all that type of thing. That's the last thing in the world you should be talking about, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's priorities. It's helping people identify the priorities. get them out of the overwhelm, get them out of the anxious and the anxiety. You know, people are thinking about the past, about how something went wrong. People are thinking about the future and what could go wrong. You know, helping them be present is a large part of that. And then from there, we can actually do some really fantastic work.
Like in the world that we help prepare, optimize, and sell businesses, it's the same thing. You have to go on that journey. So before we can get to the optimize part, which is the part for the business, that's more the consulting side. The first part is the coaching side. So we have to work to get the business owner exit ready, as we call it.
Yeah.
So it's the same type of thing. You have to start with the first step. There's no point, right, we're going to put your business on the market. And that's why, unfortunately, last year only 14% of businesses sold.
Yeah, wow.
Normally it's about 20%, but last year for some reason it was only 14%. But in that realm, there's not a lot of preparation in that first part. It's where the pain is and all of that type of thing of letting go, as you were saying.
Mhm.
What are they going to do after that? So obviously having a business called Business Exit and Beyond, the Beyond is very much a part what you're going to do next. So if you start getting a bit of a plan together, then you can go through the different steps. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, isn't it? It's just whether you're a consultant, whether you're a builder, whether you're a doctor, lawyer, it's all in the same type of realm, isn't it?
It is, and the interesting part there that you're touching on, what happens after, right? What happens after you sell the business? You know, even though I didn't sell the entity itself, I sold my business.
Yeah.
You know, I took the brand off the market, and you know, I started leading with my own name. It was an identity shift. That identity shift is a big deal for a lot of people, especially when they've been doing what they've been doing for decades. There's exiting part. What do you do after? Many of those people actually will go on and start consultancies because they know that it's a different type of business.
Mm.
And so you can work, you know, 4 days, 3 days, even 2 days a week, and actually get some really nice income that in a business that you can continue to work in as long as you're comfortable. You know, when people in their 80s that are actually doing very, very good work, and they technically, you know, retired at 65. So, you know, there's that identity piece. Where do you move to? Well, consultancy is an option. And it's interesting, these people who are now potentially experiencing job loss from artificial intelligence in white collar roles and even blue collar roles. They're saying, "Oh, who am I now?" Well, those people have the opportunity to start a business that then will grow. And ideally, if they follow David's and others' advice, to actually structure it in a way that they can potentially sell it. Or those people might want to, because they're experts, you know, move into a consulting space. But there is an identity shift in that. So when I'm helping people start that consultancy, it's about helping them get some confidence around that new identity so that they don't feel at a loss for who they once were.
Oh, totally. And the interesting part is that all of those skills, all of that knowledge, all of that wisdom gained over all of that time, it doesn't matter whether you've never worked in business. You've got all of that stuff, haven't you?
Yeah.
So if they come to you and you can start, we'll just say a business on the side. We'll just call it a business on the side
Sure.
that you do 2 or 3 days a week, right?
Mm.
That, you know, you must have, like you say, you've got people, part of your groups that doing that. Now, can you, without names, but a scenario where someone's actually done that, where they've come to you and said, I've never done a business ever in my life,
Yeah.
but I love doing this type of thing. Or can you just, like, for our audience, the steps, because there's a lot of people that are listening out there that are thinking, what am I going to do? It's next fine for you guys because you've pivoted to, you've done doing different things. We have to go through that journey of identity shift as well.
Yeah.
So can you just take that on a little bit of a journey? Like I said, don't name names, but
No, that's
how
great.
someone goes through that process.
Yeah, so we've got there's so many different backgrounds in the work that we do. Like there's a person that we're working with at the moment. They are in there's a couple in construction actually. So construction, they build ranges, right? They've got quite a successful business, and it's now under management. So they're like, well, what do I do? They came across me because there was that sort of, you know, do I sell? You know, how's it going? You know, maybe I should introduce you to them. But they were like they were interested in what does consulting look like for me. And they had a defense background, which I always love because they'll do the things that they need to do. And I just gave them some very simple steps about how they can build some retainers for people that are in a similar sector to where they're already playing. This person in particular closed 9 retainers in the first 6 months that we were working together and put an extra $350,000 on top of their business just from a few conversations.
Wow.
That's on top of their other business. So their other business, they're still managing it, but it's got a general manager in there. They're able to add this on top. So imagine that you sold your business. You're looking at what's another opportunity for you. Well, there's a solo opportunity of $350,000 without even like breaking a sweat. He made a few phone calls, had a few appointments, and then is helping people with their strategy. That's one of them. Another person, actually, without naming names, runs a $200 million construction company, and it now is got the board of directors looking after it, and now he's like, well, what's next for me? So yeah, we have that conversation, and we're looking at, well, there are probably 3 or 4 different avenues, but they all have some form of mentoring, advice, or consulting in the core of the delivery. And so again, we're helping people become a consultant because a lot of people think they know what a consultant is, but really the word itself comes from consulere, which is to give counsel. Right, we're giving counsel to people. And then we've got others that are from medical professionals. The infection control. Someone's been working in infection control, but now they actually just want to do the strategic side of helping long-term care facilities get their infection control systems up to scratch. So they come in and they do that consulting. Incredible businesses doing very, very well. And so there are 2 different types. There tends to be a generalist consultant or a generalist business that comes in and can help a range of different people based off their skills. They take the problem in front of them and they help people deal with it. They tend to work on strategy or facilitating something for someone. And then you have specialist consultants who come in and they're quite clear about how to get the result, but what they've got to identify is where is the client currently and what is the gap between that and the outcome. So they both work. They both work really well. I had a conversation on one of my podcasts with Alan Weiss about whether you should go generalist or specialist. He reckons generalist, but what he means by that is become the facilitator, become the person who can actually help someone through a process. But you can all do that. Everyone can do, no matter what industry you're from.
So some of these people would say, why didn't I do this years ago? Have you had some of those comments?
Yeah. One in particular, just like, I can't believe this. Like, how long has this been going on, sort of thing? There was another one who we helped get, I think he got 5 retainers in the first 8 weeks. And then he was like, I'm good. I'm done. Like, I'm full. Like, I'll just keep going. I'll come back to you later. We've got a person in the financial advice space who kept being told that he couldn't charge for advice. And then, the Royal Commission comes along and then he reaches out and now he knows how to charge for advice and his clients are very happy with it. So the skills are, they have many different places that they can play.
But I like that where you say, what does consulting look like, where most of the market doesn't even know that word, do they? Like,
No.
Coming from a building background, I understand what a consultant is because we deal with architects and engineers and all that type of stuff. So they've always been classified as that. But like you say, you could say your doctor's a consultant too, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you've got a consulting physician, you've got a medical consultant, you've got consultants, you've got there are even real estate consultants. There are certainly recruitment consultants. You'll find consultants even in design. So they are absolutely everywhere. It's just more a case of the process. What is consulting? It is enabling the client to get from here to there without actually doing the work for them. I think that's a key distinction.
Yeah, because there's a big difference between the consultant and a coach. And I think a lot of people get mixed up on that.
Yeah, the coach one's interesting because if you take the sort of the formalized, practical version of what a coach is supposed to come in and not add to the situation, because the premise is that you have everything there inside of you. So it's their um, opportunity to enable you to do everything you need to do, right? With completely hands off is the idea. Every time that you put yourself involved in telling a client what to do when you're coaching, you are usually poisoning the environment to some sense. A consultant can actually bring their experience and know-how and strategy into the conversation. But what I like more than anything right now, not worrying about what box you put them in, I like mentoring. And the reason I like mentoring, the idea that someone's done something before, now they're going to show other people what they've done. With artificial intelligence, the smarts, we don't need smarts, right? It's going to be taken care of. And for many people, it already is taken care of. What we need is someone to show a path for a client, and someone who has walked that path before gives them the confidence to actually take the step. So mentorship, I think, as part of consulting is probably the focus for most of the work that I do and what I'm recommending to my clients.
Well, it goes back to the old analogies of the craftsman who mentored his apprentice.
That's right.
For years and years and years. He then put that apprentice in to become a tradesman. He mentored the next one.
Yeah.
That's where it goes back for thousands of years. Or where you've got from one generation to the next, where the father starts to mentor, like in the Jewish community, would mentor the sons, taking it, was it 13 or something like that?
Yeah.
Then they would prepare them into the world of business and things like that. And the grandfather would take them on the next step and as they would work their way through, wasn't it?
Well, absolutely. And believe it or not, I'm a blacksmith. So blacksmithing is what I do outside of business. And
Okay.
so as part of that, there is definitely apprenticeships. There is still basically a bunch of old guys. Women are involved as well, but it's basically a bunch of old guys just grumpily telling you what you did wrong. The general process is a good one, but most people these days, I find that they don't have the patience, and it's quite interesting to see this sort of renaissance of people who are realizing that there are end goals in business, right? Like selling your business, like exiting, but there's also it's the journey itself and becoming better, enjoying the work that you're doing. A large part of, what I do as a blacksmith is people ask me what I make, and I say mistakes. Well, but I enjoy making them. I enjoy the
Yep.
process, and that's very much the process of business as well. And so I probably would, unless those people, once they exit, are so ready to retire, there's absolutely no reason they can't start another business.
Oh, totally. And were we ever designed to retire? Because statistically, that small percentage of businesses that sell, out of that, it's somewhere between 70 to 75%. It's an American stat
Yeah.
that actually basically regret they actually sold their business 12 months later. It's not so much from the money. A lot of the times is that their whole community was the people that worked for them.
Yeah.
They were the mentors for their 2IC, and there's a whole lot of other different roles that they have, and they just turned up at home. A lot of them are become a little bit lost, isn't it? That's very much part of that.
And so my mother worked in aged care for a lot of her working life. She was an A&E nurse originally, and then once we were born, she moved into the aged care space. She would tell me how these people would retire, and 5 years later they would be in the nursing home. It's because they didn't have that extra thing. So, one of the things I would suggest to your audience, for the people who are actually getting exit ready, is that if they don't have a hobby, right, start to explore. If they don't have an identity outside of work, what could it be? If they haven't taken the time to actually look at who they are without the business, it's a really evolving and growing process that I think is beneficial no matter who you are. So that's some of the work that I would certainly recommend.
So if you look at those stats, so she's, like the ambulance at the end of the cliff type situation, 5 years. So if you've got the regret after one, then 4 years later, here you are on average, you're saying that here they are in a nursing home, isn't it?
Yeah, well, the interesting thing. So, I said about working 4 days a week and taking that Wednesday off. Um, Part of the reason I did it was an experiment to prove that I could, and absolutely I could without any issue to the bottom line. Now I have this day where I have to spend it in some way that really, because I've picked Wednesday. Actually, it wouldn't matter what day I picked, but everyone else is working, right?
Yeah.
So it can get a bit lonely. I think that the realization for me is that what it gives me is the opportunity to find something else to contribute to. Maybe connection is a large part of what drives me, but that's where I'm starting to look at other things, like whether they be support groups for other community people or to help with giving back to other initiatives. I think that is an opportunity as much as anything else to have the flexible time, not so that you just have free time because the novelty wears off pretty quick. It's so that you can actually select where you put your energy.
Well, as they say, once you've lost your purpose and ultimately your mission, you go down on the same realm, isn't it? So it's even like us. We've been going to salsa classes recently, totally outside the box.
Yeah.
But it's really fun. Like your feet all over the joint. Only tip on that is don't look at your feet. But outside of that, it's something that's quite different, right? We actually take Mondays off. And so last Monday we went up, and we have to get out of the house because our office is in the house. So we went up to O'Reilly's in Brisbane, just above the Gold Coast, basically. Here we are trekking all the way through there. So you sort of get away, do something, and we do our walks anyway, which is preparing for the bigger walks. But you're doing something different all the time, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And, but for me, and I think it is, well, it's for me and people like me. I am starting to look for things to contribute to. I think that even if for some reason I decide to sell this business because for monetary reasons or whatever it might be, I would have something that I was committed to. That's one of the reasons I've been president of this association and that association and
Yeah.
all these different extracurricular things off the side. A lot of people don't get it, but I think business owners do.
Oh, I think so, absolutely. But that's part of obviously what we're doing, or like all of us are doing, is taking people, when we go back to the journey that you were talking about, this is something that takes time. So even myself, I'm going to be 63 in a few weeks. The turning point was when I was actually 60, thinking I can still consult, I can still do things in the industry, get paid a lot of money. But it was like, but I want to do something more. When I looked at people around me that just stopped, like I had one guy that he was basically in that scenario. After 2 years, I bumped into him. He was struggling finding his car in the car park. This guy was as sharp as a tack in construction. He was building, multi-million dollars, and right to the nail, and it just lost it. He had a Harley in the garage. He had this nice sports car. He didn't taken them out. He's just driving his average car, and he said, "Oh, it's too hard. It's too hard." He said, "If I lost my car," I said, "How do you mean lose your car?" But see, this is what's happening, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, a lot of my mentors that I've had over the years are still with us. I think a large part of that is because they remain active, even though they've sort of taken a backseat on the business side of things. They still go and present at things like Rotary and Probus, these other organisations. That it keeps them sharp because they kind of still need to have that edge to be at the front of the room. So
Yeah.
there's lots of opportunity.
Oh, totally. That's the thing about this podcast. Like I say, take those opportunities, as we've talked about. You can either do a general, you can be a specialist in the field of mentoring. Everyone's got it, haven't
Yeah.
they?
Oh,
You
they
don't.
have.
It can be a 2, 3, whatever it can be. Like you say, right? I'm not going to be like yourself, where I'm not. I don't work on Wednesday. I'm going to do it on each side, or whatever arrangement you want to do, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting because I run a podcast which is called Your Consulting Business Podcast, which is as well what it says on the tin, which you can find on YouTube and other podcasting places. I just recorded an episode just then on how to start a consulting business. One of the points that I was making is that you don't need all the stuff. You don't need to have a professional website. You don't need to have a logo. You don't have to have all this software and what have you. What you do need is to have some form of expertise. I don't mean expertise from a knowledge point of view. I mean expertise from helping people create outcomes. I call that outcome expertise, which again, what it says on the tin. But if you're thinking you need to get all this collateral and all this stuff together to start a business, think again, because now we have LinkedIn. We've had it for quite some time, but LinkedIn now does very good on search engines. If you clean up your LinkedIn profile, you just focus on like, this is the result I get, this is who I get it for, then it can become a pseudo website, and you don't need much more than that. So if you have an email address, maybe you get some more photography done. And just a quick point on photography, especially for the ladies listening, please do not Photoshop your lines away. By doing that, you are literally deleting your experience. You've gone all this time with deep experience and expertise, and then you Photoshop your face to look younger, which actually removes some of the perceived value there. So don't do that, but you get good photos, that becomes your logo, and you can represent yourself. You don't have to hide behind an organization anymore.
Yeah. So ladies, just remember, that was a little nugget there, right? So people are looking for people that have been around, that have had experience and all the rest of it. So jot that one down. Don't do it while you're driving a car, but jot that one down.
And I apologize
So
for anybody who was offended by me calling you ladies.
Yeah, I think we all try and do a little bit of something, don't we? We go and dye our hair and do a few other bits and pieces to try.
And every now and then, there's a spot on my face or whatever it might be. And I used to teach Photoshop, so I go and I'm tempted to remove those things. But lines, you want to keep the lines. The people don't just want to work with beautiful people. They want to work with people with character, and that's those lines. Actually, they give you a depth of experience and expertise.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. Absolute, really good point on that. So we all need to keep some sort of purpose to get out of bed. In other words,
Yes.
Ultimately, if you don't have a big mission yourself, join someone else's mission, isn't it?
Yeah. In fact, it was interesting because, like, when so somehow I ended up being in the Hall of Fame for the Professional Speakers Association here in Australia. When I started speaking, I was petrified to speak. But the first time I did it, I had 20 people inquire in the business to work with us, and I realized, oh no, now I have to speak. Anyway, you can get out there, and one of the mentors asked me to speak to a whole bunch of Rotary clubs just so I would improve. And so I did. I think I started with 10, and then I asked one of my employees to book a few more. I asked him the next day how many he'd booked, and he booked like 34. I was like, stop now. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because by going to those Rotary nights, breakfasts, lunches, I learned about their community, and then I was able to feed back some of the things that I'd learned about their community to them, and they felt heard, they felt understood, and they even started to see me as an expert because I knew more about their organization than they did. There was a mission there to attach to, and there are so many missions out there, but I think it's just a case of understanding what drives you. And for me, that's a great exploration and opportunity to actually do that work, to say, what is it that I want? And then to include the answer to this question. If I had everything that I wanted, what would I do with my time? And if you answer that, the majority of people I ask that question to, after they've traveled to all the places they want to visit, they say, I would like to spend time with friends, maybe having a glass of wine or spending time and having a good chat. I'd like to walk on the beach a little bit more. I want to spend time with my pet, whatever it might be. These things, these simple joys, these simple activities are available to us every single day. And I advise every single person who can create a business that gives them some flexibility of time to actually put these things into their week every week. The things.
Yeah, that's a great nugget.
Yeah,
because we get so busy in the hype of everything that I think we've got to the stage, would you say, that we have to train ourselves to pull the battery?
Yeah. I was taught years ago when I would bring my troubles home from the office. This is back when I had an office, before COVID happened. So I'd come home from the office and I'd be grumpy or I'd be disconnected or whatever it might be. And someone taught me that As soon as I put my hand on the cold handle, I have to turn in the opposite direction before I enter the door. And it's just a little strategy scrambler, because it's like, if you think about it, you go, oh, that doesn't make sense. But it's enough for me to shake me out of the office mode so that I can walk into the home and actually be available.
Yeah. But that's an intentional discipline, a habit, whatever you want to do, isn't it?
Well, the trick in it was actually the anchor to the cold door handle. So it's like, because I know I'm going to actually touch that cold door handle, so I anchored it to it, and then it starts the question, and then it shakes you out. So there's lots of things that you can do once you start understanding yourself, and I think that before or on the way through to exiting your business, it's a great bit of work to really understand who you are.
Yep. So for our listeners, we have covered a lot of journey throughout here where we've gone from skills to how to start a consulting business, outcomes, identity shifts, skills, knowledge, consultancy, communication. There's been a lot of things that we've covered. Just to sort of wrap up our podcast and for our viewers, just to simplify it, what would be 3 nuggets that you would, one being the top and work your way down, what would be 3 nuggets that if someone is saying, right, I've got a business, I've either sold it and I don't know what to do, or I've at that point where I'm going through the journey of the sale, but I really don't know what I'm going to do next.
Yeah. I think for the person who hasn't yet sold the business, maybe on the journey, that maybe they're thinking about it, certainly start to enjoy the things that you would do in, retirement, if you were thinking of retirement, so that you can at least experience them. Probably get rid of the novelty of them so that you can actually go, is this actually what I want to do? Because you can leave business, think you're retiring, and then find the novelty wears off quite quickly. The other is to understand that you do have an identity that's attached to your business, and to understand when that's taken away, there'll be a time of loss, if not grief, and that there'll be a process to go through. Now, I'd like to say that's super easy, but I actually recommend getting support because sometimes it can actually be very dramatic. I've seen quite dramatic stuff when there's been an identity shift. But I think the third one is that on the other side of selling a business for whatever reason, there is another season, which means that it doesn't end. You have endless opportunity to do whatever you want to. Start dreaming, start thinking about what that looks like. You can contribute to a cause, you can contribute to a community, you can actually take the time and spend with yourself, but you have all the options on the table there. And we are living longer than we've ever lived before. So, after selling a business, it's not like you're just going to fall off the perch. There's the opportunity to basically have another season of life.
Yeah, no, well, wise words there. And when you say fall off the perch, like before, where your mother was at 5 years, that could be a very short perch. Not necessary to physically die, but mentally die in that process, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. The if one of the the problems that people worry about these days is losing their mental faculties. It is the active brain that remains sharp. Obviously, there's new science and things coming up around that, but continuing to be part of things basically keeps you part of things.
Well, in reality, whether it's your body, mind, either use it or lose it.
Yeah.
So, so thank you very much, Russell. What we'll do is Russell's, because I've got some little trinkets there in his podcast that can take you on that journey for how to start your consulting business. Maybe he's got a guide out there that we can actually put in the show notes as well, just as an introduction to what he does. Because like I say, we're actually part of his guild. It's very well worth being part of, I assure you. Don't do it by yourself. It's a lonely world in business. This is a time to join in with people that have been on the journey, but they've built a community. And communities are very important because you're going to be with like-minded people. There may be a few steps ahead. Obviously, Russell's a few more. But at the end of the day, we're all just a few steps ahead that we can help you on that journey. So all of those parts will be put into the show notes. I think all of our listeners are listening to Business Exit. secret formula. And there's some real nuggets in that one. We really appreciate that.
Thanks for having me, David.